So the current water supply forecast update as of today, we're not seeing much in the way of weather in the next
Maybe there's
7
a
to
graph
10
for that.
days. I don't think 1 or 2 thunderstorms will make a whole lot of difference in the water supply, given that the soil is so dry and we've seen so many months of dry conditions. It will take a number of storms to recharge the base flows and therefore increase the runoff in the basin. So as we know today, we are seeing about 80% or slightly below that for a number of our Canadian projects. This is the comprised of the observed inflows from February to current and the forecast through to September. So what we know is the forecast runoff for the residual period is in fact much lower than shown here. We're looking at closer to 50 to 60% of normal. And that's not too surprising because if you look at the runoff graph below, you can see the observed runoff for every month this year except for May is below average. And in fact, if you look at June and July, that's highlighted here, we only saw about half the normal amount of runoff. And that's expected to continue pretty closely through the rest of the summer months. And as Grant mentioned, I think it needs to get worse before it gets better. It's not improbable to get some summer storm events in the Columbia Basin, but I think it's more likely to see fall rains. That's just my experience being on this system for a while. The inflows that you see in May here, and that's attributed to the accelerated and compressed depression. So, and that's why we saw some fairly high flows, which created some opportunities for us to come to an agreement with the U.S., which I'll talk to in a bit. This went towards supporting higher air levels. Okay, so this is the ranking plot for the April to September volume runoff. The data here is actually I extracted from the NOAA's website. And so for the most part, it's just observed numbers from 1949 to 2022 and forecast of 2023 for the Canadian Basin. And it's ranked from the wettest year on record to the driest year from left to right. So 1997 was the wettest year on record and 2001 was the driest year. And that's for the overall Columbia Basin, so everything that's upstream of the border. And as we know, it varies quite a bit depending on how far in the basin we are. We know that this year, the Upper Columbia Basin is far less water than Lower Columbia. So, based on their projection, the 2023 water supply forecast is expected to be the third driest year on record, and that's highlighted here in red bar. And recent drought years were 2001 and 2015, with 2001 being the driest year on record, and 2015 the fifth driest year on record. So that's all good if you just look at the Canadian Basin as a whole, but in the interest of looking at where Arrow levels sit and what the inflows we are expecting this year at Arrow and above, it's what we're seeing here is 2023 is even drier than 2001.